Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Vinpok Taptek mechanical keyboard. Now this keyboard isn't like many keyboards out there available on the market. It is an RGB mechanical keyboard that has Bluetooth functionality, can be used in wired mode, and is tailored for Mac users with its command and control and option keys which are set in the right place. It's very much aimed at Mac users, but that's not to say as an Android/PC user that I couldn't use this keyboard. Far from it, it's also made for those type of users as well. Now the keyboard has a variety of different functions. I'm not going to bore you with all of them, but just quickly show you in terms of the comprehensive manual. Via the F keys, you've got a lot of different functions depending on if you're on Mac or Windows, and of course if you're on iOS or Android they will also differ. But you can see through these sort of features, you can press the F4 key, for example, to bring up the launch pad, or even turn up or turn down the volume if you're on either system. Now this isn't only the case, as I mentioned, on a computer such as a Mac or a Windows device. If I were to press FN and say next, it will even change the music on my power amp, which is on Android. So that's pretty cool. But the biggest thing for me was the fact that it has mechanical key switches and also works via Bluetooth. Now right now I've got it paired to my OnePlus 5T, which I'm just going to reduce the brightness so you guys can see it a little bit better. But what's really cool is that it is able to pair up to 3 devices simultaneously. So I can type on one device, like as I am doing now, and then I would press a certain key, say FN, and I think it's this button, and it will switch to, FN and Q, or FN and W or E, and then it will switch to the secondary device that it's paired up to. That's really cool, as long as the devices that you've got have got Bluetooth and have been previously paired to the keyboard via the designated switch. So for example, designated profile, so in profile 1, 2 or 3, then you'll be able to quickly switch. Why would you want that? Well, let's say for example you've got a tablet and then a laptop, or a phone and your laptop, and you want to quickly switch between them, you can do so. That's a really neat feature, and I'm pretty impressed with that. Now, before talking about the actual key switches themselves and the keycaps, I want to talk about the build quality. Now, the keyboard has barely any keyboard flex, and that's simply due to its metal construction. It's got a fantastic build quality all the way around, and even though it has like sort of like a glossy back, which does attract fingerprints, as you can see, it has got a very nice look to it. Especially from the front, you've got a greyish brushed aluminium look. Now of course, if you pair that up with some RGB keys, you've got a pretty unique looking keyboard, especially one that will draw a lot of attention given its low profile design. Now the switches that are found within it, as far as I'm aware, are the Kelf Choc mechanical key switches. There's been keyboards in the past that have had this before. However, this has got RGB backlit keys, and the one that I've got in front of me has got the blue switch, which you can see right here. Now the RGB switches do look really nice, but what's really interesting is how this low profile design works. As you can see over here, it is very, very thin. Comparing it to my phone as an example, that's the OnePlus 5T, you can see it's extremely thin, which is, in comparison to the keyboard in the background, which is a custom painted Logitech G710 Plus with MX brown switches, it's kind of a night and day difference. Now why would you want a thin type of keyboard like this, or want low profile design? Simply because if you're a laptop user or someone who has a phone, you don't want something taking up a lot of space, and in this case this keyboard, the Vinpok Taptek keyboard, does really not take up that much space, and it looks really sleek as well given its build quality. Now the FN keys, as I mentioned before, have got this volume controls, media controls as well, but you can also adjust the brightness. The brightness of the keyboard is adjusted like so, and then you can even change the lighting controls by a tap of a button. Now it's very simple, very easy to work. It doesn't take a genius, let's put it that way, and the array of customizability that you have is also pretty impressive. The fact that you can adjust the speed of them and even in terms of the brightness as well is just quite nice to have. And given the fact that it's got RGB backlit keys, no matter the key color switch, as you can see right here, you can have it to your heart's content. Better still, as far as I'm aware, Vinpok will be offering the keyboard with different keycaps, so they will come in white as well. And in all honesty, that almost fits with the Mac theme. It makes it look a little bit more Mac-y. But if you are like me and you prefer like a black silver look, then don't fear, you've got this option as well. Now, aside from the looks, there is a few other things I would like to talk about. At the top you've got a switcher, so you've got between wired mode and Bluetooth mode, and you can power off the keyboard altogether. It's got a battery inside, and just make sure I'm not saying anything wrong. It's got a 1800 milliamp battery, there we go, housed inside. That is enough to last you pretty much a week or so of usage, if not more, but obviously your mileage may vary, and depending on the lights that you're going to be using, it just depends on how much you're going to use the keyboard. So just take battery life quotes, especially with products like this, with a grain of salt. Then this switch is a real simple switch. All it does is between Android slash PC users and Mac and iOS users, so which ones you would prefer. Now, why would you want that switch? Simply because of the certain programmed button over here as to how they'll respond with your system, and also even the option command keys as well. So in terms of functionalities, I think Vinpok have done a fantastic job here. But what about its performance? How does it sound? Well, without further ado, let's go with a little sound test, and I'll have the phone over here, just see it in the background, picking up, or hopefully picking up the keyboard, which coincidentally, there we go, now it's working. Coincidentally, I was going to say on video it's never going to do it, but nevertheless, let's just try and do it. Right, so let's go. Right, so what I was typing there was a bit of random blurb, but I actually did type in to say how the key switches feel. Now, due to their low profile design, they're not really going to compare to Cherry MX switches. Now, Cherry MX switches that I've got over here, such as the Cherry MX Blue, which is found over here, you can hear the clear difference between the two. This kind of bottoms out a little bit, a bit differently. It's got sort of like a spring back type of a feel to it, and it feels a little bit more mushy than a Cherry MX switch Blue would do by comparison. Both of them have got a clicky sort of nature, and both of them are very light. I can't quote you the exact sort of force required for this, because even on DX Story I kind of struggled to find the exact key switch, even though they've come from the Cherry ML type of line, which have 45 grams of actuation force. I wasn't really sure, and I can't give you the exact force of these key switches, but nevertheless, all I can say is it's very light on touch and it's very easy to type on, and it kind of resembles a Cherry MX brown slash Cherry MX a blue type of switch in terms of the force, and of course with its sort of clicky nature will remind you of that very distinctive typewriter sound. Now, the overall feel of it, I can't lie, it does feel a little bit mushy. It does especially feel a little bit odd, especially coming from a full-size keyboard. The key spacing is a little odd as well, because the keys do feel a little bit smaller than your normal key switch would do. But it is exactly as you would expect. It's a small-sized keyboard, and therefore you kind of have to expect that. And in terms of the ability to take it on the go, and the fact that it's a very light keyboard, means that there is some sort of compromise that has to have been done, and in that case they kind of shrank the key switch, and therefore you get a different type of experience. So if you're coming from a Cherry MX Blue or even a Kelf Blue switch or a Gatron Blue switch, you will feel it's a little bit different. It has this slightly mushy feel to it, But overall, will you be disappointed? Well, absolutely not. It just takes a little while to get used to it and kind of accustomed to the kind of smaller spacing that you get within the keys. I'm happy to say there's no sort of a spring back sound, neither is there any wobble when it comes to the key switch, and that's mainly due to the actual key switch itself. It's got a sort of two-pronged approach, so therefore it doesn't really wobble about. Now in terms of the key switches themselves, the keycaps themselves, they're very light and made out of plastic. I wouldn't say they're the best quality keycaps in the world. If you're going to start keyboard bashing, then absolutely they're probably not going to last a time. But nevertheless, for their operation, which I can't see someone using almost religiously and heavily typing on it, then you'll be absolutely fine. So ultimately, what do I think of this keyboard? Well, to be honest with you, it's quite a unique keyboard. It's unlike anything else that I've come across, and for all its functionalities, I would definitely recommend it.